What is up, Razorback Nation and Hog family? We are back with Hogs on the Hill, episode 81, your go-to source for an in-depth dive on all things Arkansas sports. We're brought to you by our friends over at Razor Pigs. Looking good never felt so fun. Razor Pigs is the Arkansas born brand bringing some serious style to the golf course, tailgating, everywhere in between. From high-quality polos to head-turning hats, they've got what you need to rep the natural state with pride. Found it right here at home and now run by a Razorback-loving family. Razor Pigs is where comfort meets cool. So go hog wild and shop Razor Pigs today at razorpigs.us and our friends over at Scarlet Letter. Arkansas's very own handcrafted spiked seltzer. You can check them out today. And if you are in Northwest Arkansas, check out the Core Brewery Tap Room where you can get Scarlet Letter and all of its various flavors on tap, as well as their new hard teas. So Thursday night, Arkansas bounces back with a big win last night after that rough road loss to Auburn. How are we feeling tonight, boys?
I'm feeling good, man. I mean, it was a bad loss against Auburn, and so a great bounce back. It was good to see everybody really get going last night. I'm not really too excited about it because I just don't feel like South Carolina that is probably not going to win very many games in the conference this year, but we got a little bit of a tough stretch ahead of us. So, that road game against Georgia, it's gonna be a tough one. I'm fully confident though when we come back next week to Fayetteville, we're gonna win both of those. But that Georgia one on the road, that they're sneaky, man. That their guard can really go off in a heartbeat. So of course ours can too. So I expect a really shootout in that one.
Yeah. It's like Zane and I've said for weeks now, all these other schools, they have great guards and everything, but give me Acuff and Wagner against anybody.
Acuff and Wagner. What about Thomas, man? Give me him too, man.
Yeah. I mean, it's still right. And I leaned over to Zane last night at the game, and I was like, how many first-round draft picks, come off the bench?
Yeah. And another question is, how many first-round draft picks does this team have? 3?
At least 3.
So that's pretty. Yeah, at least 3. So I mean, this is just it's one of the best teams we've had. So hopefully we can ride this momentum.
Yeah. Zane back from the technical difficulties.
Nope, still having technical difficulties. Hang on, let me try to figure this out.
Anyway, we've got
figure this out.
Sounds good. So we've got a jam-packed show for you tonight, guys. We are going to recap last night's game more in depth here in a little bit. We're going to give you an update on Arkansas football and the transfer portal as, we're winding down. Tomorrow is when the portal will officially close. We'll give you the latest on that. With Hobbs on here, we're going to talk some Arkansas baseball as the season is just under a month away before we get things kicked off down in Arlington for a 3-game series in the Classic down there, and then they're playing an extra game on Monday following that.
We'll be there.
Exactly. Hobbs and I, possibly Zane, will be there to give you all the in-depth coverage. And then here in a few minutes, as you've seen per social media, our friend Hype Man Corey, who is the hype man for Arkansas Gymnastics, will be joining the show as we get ready to talk about this upcoming season and Arkansas's first home gymnastics meet coming up on Sunday. But, quick little preview. What's your thoughts and expectations this season for Arkansas baseball, Hobbs?
Well, we got another top 10 team, so it's a perfect game. Things top 5, but I mean, at the end of the day, this is definitely a team that can get to Omaha and compete for another national championship. Now, will they get there in the end? Baseball's a funny game. We know the hard way, unfortunately. But yeah, I mean, it's a stacked team again. The outfield's reloaded. I believe this is the 3rd or 4th straight year they've had to reload and make a whole new outfield. But we've got 2 of the top 20 seniors in the country in the outfield. The number 1 player in the country, he won the Summer League MVP. The dude is an absolute monster. So he'll be manning center field. We'll probably have Stewart in left, and of course we've got little young Aloy back at it. So hopefully, I know he was kind of downward spiral towards the end of the year last year, but have you seen him lately? Has anybody seen a picture of him lately? He is jacked.
I saw a video of him in batting practice, and it
Yeah.
sounded like every single hit was going over. But
so,
yeah,
I mean, we saw how hard he hit the ball last year. I can only imagine.
I was about to say, there's going to be no calling him Baby Aloy anymore.
Yeah. So I expect him to hit at least 2 or 3 home runs when I see him in Arlington. So get your gloves ready in left field.
100%. It's going to be a good time. The matchups that they gave Arkansas for this little weekend tournament, they were smart with it. They're going to get in some viewerships with, Arkansas, Oklahoma State. The history between them, especially most recently. We know the history with TCU recently. And then Texas Tech, not so much, but they're another Power 4 program to go up against. So it'll be a good weekend of games.
Big 12 weekend. So that's what we're looking at. So
hopefully Oklahoma and Vandy can hold their own in for the SEC.
Yeah, it's weird because you look at the schedule and you're not thinking that there's other SEC teams there because we don't play one, but there is. So it's going to be interesting. So, but I mean, Vanderbilt's kind of a questionable team this year. They're not really sure if they're going to be good or not. Oklahoma's got a pretty good pitching staff, but questions around the lineup. So it'll be interesting to see how they do.
Yeah, I agree. So, but without further ado, we're going to welcome the man himself, Hype Man Corey, to the show. We had him on last year. He's back again. Going to be back in Fayetteville for the first home meet on Sunday. How's it going, Corey?
What's going on, guys? I'm so pumped to be back with you.
Yeah, good to see you.
Good to see you.
So, another year, another season of Arkansas gymnastics. You got to love the storylines this year. It's year 2 of Jocelyn back. You've got the Price sisters this season. And, I mean, are we forgetting anything else, Corey?
A star-studded freshman class, the top recruiting class in the country, came in the 2025 recruiting class, who showed up and showed out last week in their first meet of the season in Minnesota. I mean, you said the other main storylines, but the huge storyline of the year is this year we are going to be breaking an NCAA attendance record with the help of every fan in the country to come to Bud Walton Arena and be a part of Razorback Gymnastics. So that's happening in March. But other than that, I can gab about the gym bags all day long and brag about every one of them because they're absolutely phenomenal.
Well, hey, that's what we like to hear. So, coming into this season, the last season didn't end how a lot of, people thought / wanted it to. This team comes back, like you said, star-studded freshman. Jocelyn's back. You've got Frankie and her sister now. Are we going to be seeing a lot of high scores this season?
You know what? That's the hope. For some odd reason, the judges don't love Fayetteville. I feel like there's some sort of vendetta against Fayetteville. There always has been. We're one of the only programs in the country who has historically not ever seen a 10, ever. This program has never seen a 10 in the history of Razorback Gymnastics. And there have been ebbs and flows of 10s just feeling like they're getting tossed at programs in years past. We've been trying our best to get those 10s, and I do believe we have the cast and crew to make that happen this year. I just landed in Fayetteville tonight, and I was hanging out with the coaching staff, and we were talking about the back half of our floor lineup. So those last 3-4 positions, which historically, if you've been to a Razorback Gymnastics meet, is like the momentum shifter, the energy builder. And as those scores rise, the judges end up having to be able, they can't go anywhere. When they start throwing 995s, the next score a judge can throw is a 10. And so we're going to count on that momentum that we keep building year over year in the back half of our lineup with the Price sisters, Lauren Williams, hometown Hog, back in action. And we also have Jocelyn Robertson, fresh off of a world championship run in Jakarta and winning a bronze medal on vault. I think we are in for a treat on floor for sure. And I think the momentum on the other 3 events is huge. And we have some really great momentum heading into the season. So big scores, I believe it. I think that we have the best home floor advantage in the entire country, and let's use it to our advantage the best that we possibly can.
I couldn't agree more. I know last year, several instances seeing Coach Weber getting frustrated with the lack of a 10 not being called after an amazing performance. So,
yeah, I mean, I will tell you that last year, the governing body over judges really cracked down. And so I wasn't surprised that we weren't seeing last year be the year. I won't bore you with how that happened or what happened with all of that. But ultimately, we've already seen the first 10 get thrown in NCAA gymnastics this past weekend. It was in Utah by a Utah athlete, and it was on vault. And the first perfect 10 wasn't thrown until week 3 or 4 in the 2025 season. So we are already seeing a little bit of an influx in the rise back of scores. In 2025, we saw 44 perfect 10s, and in 2024, we had seen 87 perfect 10s. So that crackdown on scores across the entire country was definitely something we saw. I'm hopeful that this year we see true perfect 10s. So we're actually giving great gymnastics, great scoring. But at the same time, I want to see that momentum shift back into the direction and rewarding our sport with great gymnastics and great scores in that way.
Well, I do want to ask about you in particular.
Yeah.
So big meets, like big events. How close are you to losing your voice normally by the end of those?
Very close. Very close. If it ever looks like I'm chewing gum, I'm actually have a cough drop in my mouth.
Okay.
So I do a lot to prepare for meets. So it's actually funny that you're asking this. The whole morning before an evening meet, I'm kind of laying low, getting my rest in. My body needs to rest because I sometimes output 2,400 calories in a 2-hour meet. That's the energy that I have to put out there or choose to put out there for the Razorbacks. But how close am I to losing my voice? It's pretty much gone. The next morning I wake up and it's not really usable. So there's no phone calls or interviews happening on the day after a meet. But you know what? The way I put it is I want to give it my all every single time I go out there, put that hype man jersey on, and I do it for that team that deserves it every single night. And if it means I lose my voice, I lose my voice. It's nothing a cough drop and a little tea can't fix. So then we have another couple of days to recover. This one's going to be interesting because I am going to go Sunday meet this coming Sunday against Auburn. And then we have a Friday meet leading up in just a couple of days later against Southeastern Missouri. So it'll be a true test because it is the beginning of the season. And I'm
turnaround,
getting into the swing of things a little bit, but I'm here for it.
We definitely know that the athletes definitely appreciate you putting it all out there the way they always do. So that's always good to see.
Well, thank you. I appreciate that.
Corey, I know the last time that we saw you, you had this big background behind you, look the big city. What was it, Nashville? I think you were in.
I was in Seattle.
Seattle. I don't know why I thought Nashville. Yeah, Seattle. So you had that big view behind us, and now you got a bookshelf this time. But I was looking at the schedule, and I see that y'all are going to be, after the 6th when you face off against Georgia, you have to go to Fort Worth for it looks like a tournament, and then back over to Tuscaloosa 5 days later, and then you won't get back home until the 20th against Kentucky.
Yeah,
so right. I'm just wondering, how do you prepare for such a long road trip?
Mid-season is kind of that moment in our sport where everything works towards that middle of the season kind of idea. Beginning of the season, get your feet under you. You figure out where the landings are hard. You're not on those soft landings in practice services anymore. You're taking the tough landings. Your ankles start to feel that moment a little bit as a gymnast. But you also get into that nice rhythm. You use all of January to figure out your student athlete rhythm, right? how to be a great student, how to, fuel yourself well, recover well, but also compete well and show up when you need to compete. Travel gets in the mix of all of that, of knowing that you have to like really plan your days and schedule your life in that way to make sure you can still maximize everything you need to maximize to go and deliver for the Razorbacks when it's needed, right? So middle of the season, there's a couple moments where the athletes are going to compete on a Friday night and then they're going to compete again on a Sunday. And I think that's when they go to Fort Worth, right? Like we're going to hop down we're going to compete in Bud Walton Arena on a Friday night, and then they're going to drive on down to Fort Worth and compete at the Metroplex Challenge. So that's a testing moment. But at the end of the day, in February, we're only a month out from when the conference championship happens, which is that moment where you get seeded into the rounds of the national championship, and you need to be firing on all cylinders. So right. It's not easy. It's not, but you take these like 10 first weeks of gymnastics season and you spend your entire year preparing to know that these 10 weeks are going to be week in, week out, performing the best gymnastics you possibly can. And then you get into that postseason grind. You have a week off in between conference championships and then regionals and nationals. And you take advantage of that rest while simultaneously keeping mentally engaged in the sport to make sure that you can make sure that you're really getting after it. So it's part of it. It's the mental battle of gymnastics, right? It's just you and the balance beam as like one of the examples, and the pressure's on. But the same thing goes for this schedule that these student athletes take on every single season.
Yeah. And thinking about it, diving into the nitty gritty, as you mentioned earlier, Arkansas already had its first meet on the road at Minnesota. So, while checking out the scores and stuff, is something we're going to see this year is, I know it's Jocelyn not on vault this year. Is that something that's, temporary, or, how much can you speak to that as far as that being a lineup choice this season?
Yeah. If you go back to her time in Jakarta when she was at the World Championship, her ankles were giving her a little bit of a problem. And so it was even before that when she was competing at the U.S. Championship in New Orleans earlier in the summer. Her ankles were kind of like not feeling it, had to go into World Selection Camp, got selected for the World's team, and then went and won a bronze medal on vault. But different than the other student athletes who kind of got most of the summer to relax and to recover, not relax, they were still training, but to recover, Jocelyn was competing through that to go and compete for Team USA. So her plan is a little bit different than the rest of the student athletes. And so right now, taking the landings on vault is where they're playing a little bit cautious. Bars and beam are definitely those two events where they know they can count on her. She's not taking a ton of like hard-hitting landings on those events, especially the dismount choices that they have on her for her routines. I think vault will be the last one to come into play for Jocelyn, but the goal will be for her to eventually play in the all-around. And I'm sure that her, knowing her competitive mindset, that's what she wants to be in. And she would do it right now, but it's the best choice for the sake of the team and for the longevity of the season to hold her back on that event. And I could even see moments in time in the season where you might even see her not do a floor routine just to like pace her through the weeks of the season. And I just encourage fans, don't worry. The coaches are really smart people. There's 3 Olympians on the staff that are making some great decisions for the student athletes. And then Caitlin Oral Branson also won a national championship when she was coaching at Lindenwood prior to coming back to the Razorbacks here. So they're very smart people and pacing these athletes. And trust, all of us want to see Jocelyn do great gymnastics for sure, but we need to make sure that she can last all the way until April.
Right. And that makes a lot of sense. You want to keep your, star athletes as healthy as possible. And sometimes rest is the, best option, at the beginning of the season, as you're kind of, like you mentioned, getting ready to fire on all cylinders. You'd rather have Jocelyn, for an example, ready to go for crunch time towards the end of the season instead of, and let her have a little bit of break in those first few meets leading up to where you get into the heart of the schedule.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, you have a roster of 20 athletes. That's the roster cap for women's gymnastics. And, at the end of the day, you want all of your athletes to be prepared on all 4 events. The reality is when you get to this part of the season after the preseason, conditioning, all of the things, bodies start to like get into a position where you kind of can see with the reality of how many routines you have in a competitive way to be able to put into lineups. And this season in particular, I'll tell you, this is the nerdy gymnastics talk. I'll talk for a second. They changed what the national qualifying score, how it would be composed this season in comparison to those in the past. In the past, you only needed 6 total scores to compose your national qualifying score, which was the score that you would put up against in a ranking across the all 86 programs across the country. This year, new, you will count all of your scores that you compete in the entire season. So similar to other sports, every single time that you step up, you put your leotard on and you salute a judge, that's going to count. That's going to count. It's also going to mean instead of just counting 6 scores, you can lock in your average team score early in the first 6 meets of the season or 6 weeks, right? That's mid-February for gymnastics. It means that instead of those teams locking down their spot and not being able to decrease because you already have those high scores, now if you score low towards the end of the season, your average score can decrease. And we're going to see a lot of parity in our sport in that way. I tell you that because I want Razorback fans to show up all the way through the end of March or the beginning of March, our last meet in March, because every single meet counts. Every routine counts. We need to make sure that all of the scores that we can put towards our national qualifying score heading into the postseason are the scores that we want to have working in a positive direction. I mean, you guys, some of you were at those meets last year. We beat 2 top 3 opponents in Bud Walton Arena last year in Florida and LSU at home. And we've created an incredibly competitive environment that no one really wants to come to. And I'm very proud of that as it pertains to the energy, the environment. We don't create an intimidating environment. Well, I guess it's intimidating. It's just not threatening, right? We're not mean. We're not rude. I don't encourage booing, but it did happen at one point last year. But we create something that every other school around the country is a little bit scared to compete in. And it worked last year. We took down 2 top 3 opponents and it was great. So I just imagine with the national qualifying score being what it is, us having an incredibly amazing competitive environment and us having an incredible lineup of athletes that we've already talked about today. I mean, this season has some incredible things that we can do with it. And I'm so pumped to get started on Sunday.
Yeah.
So I got to ask, what makes Bud Walton such a tough environment? Like, if you could point to 1 to 2 things, like what makes it so tough?
Razorback fans are loud. Razorback fans are very loud. You know, this is not a moment to toot my own horn, but I will tell you, head coach Jordan Weber created the concept of the hype man. She created me and who I am for the Razorbacks. I give her all of the credit for that. Because now what we're seeing is, as of this season, I personally have now been contacted by universities around the country asking me how they can create this role because they see that it's making such an impact and such a difference. At the end of the day, this is what I tell people all the time. Gymnastics is fascinating for the viewer, for the fan, for the spectator. Because I'm sure if the 3 of you showed up to the meet on Sunday, you would probably have no idea what was really going on. You just think it's incredible that they can flip and twist and spin and do all these crazy things. And somehow there's numbers that get flashed and they add up together to make a sum total. And you're like, did we win? Right? It's my job to help educate you as a fan to know what's good, what's amazing, what should be cheered for a little louder, what should get a little emphasis for. What do we do when someone falls? All of these things that as a fan, you're like, I know what to do when they shoot a hoop and it makes it in the basket. And I know what to do when we score a touchdown. But like, if she lands that dismount and takes a baby step back, should I still scream and yell and hoot and holler and make noise? Yes, you absolutely should. Because the rest of that routine, that's barely a half a 10 step. She can still get a 995, right? It's my job to make sure that that happens. So Zane, to answer your question, I do believe that this role that I have in Arkansas is something that is very intimidating to other teams because they all want a hype man Corey that can help guide their fans to be able to bring them a home field advantage in that way. I call it a home floor advantage in the sport of gymnastics. And now what we're seeing is, and it will be very interesting, is Auburn, who's coming on Sunday, just hired an MC, and they just had their first meet, and they have their characters in their show, just like we do with our mascots and the dads in the overalls, and they have the band and they have the other things. And now they've put in place this MC role. But what they don't have is they don't have DJ Derek, and they don't have hype man Corey, and they don't have the light show in the fourth rotation that like brings the house down. They don't have thousands and thousands of fans that show up and are screaming and yelling and have an amazing time while simultaneously giving their all for the gym backs. They don't have that. We do. And that's what makes it so special. And everyone's really jealous of what's happening in Fayetteville, I will tell you. And I have a lot of conversations with people around the country. So I'm telling you, from a very objective point of view, people want what we have here.
That's awesome. Awesome for sure.
Hey, at some point, maybe there's a Corey's Hype Man Academy.
Yeah, I mean, there's got to be a business in here somewhere. You know what I'm saying? Like there, and I will tell you guys, in terms of competitive nature, there have been head coaches that have come after me to try to poach me away from Arkansas, and I have said no every single time because I'm going into my seventh season with Razorbacks, and it is I won't be anywhere else. Like this is what I want to do. I mean, I rock the Nike merch in the colors. Like people are like, why do you own so much red? I'm like, Razorbacks till out the day I die. Like here we go, let's go, right? So you got to say no, and you got to like say go find someone else. What I actually tell them is go find someone else, and I'll give them some advice if they want it, but that's where it ends.
Right. That's fantastic. So kind of a two-part question here. So first part, what can we kind of expect from Morgan Price? As we know, first 3 years at Fisk University, transfers to Arkansas. And second part, how much of that do you think played into Frankie deciding to come back and maybe get to compete with her sister on the same team?
Oh, how much time do you have? Like the storyline between the two of them is absolutely incredible. I mean, let's start with Frankie actually, because you mentioned it. Like the end of the last season for the Razorbacks didn't end the way that they wanted, really. Like they didn't make it to back to the national championship. But even worse, on day 2 of regionals, Frankie Price tore her Achilles at regionals, and that was supposed to be the last piece of gymnastics, like the last season of gymnastics for her. And that was devastating. It was not the way she wanted to go out. And so she's taken her 5th year and she's coming back. And I'll tell you guys, we did not see her in the floor lineup last week in Minnesota, but I did just get word from the coaches that it's looking like we're going to have a Frankie Price in the floor lineup, which is amazing and so cool. So we might get to see this like Morgan and Frankie in the floor lineup moment, which is going to be absolutely amazing. But as it pertains to like the sisterhood and the connection between the two of them, and also all of the accolades that like I want Razorback fans to know about Morgan. Morgan went to Fisk University after she had been committed to Arkansas prior to that. Fisk University was the first historically Black college that started a gymnastics program, and she wanted to go make history and be a part of the inaugural team. Respect. We love it. We supported her. We were so excited for her. It was the best thing ever. And we cheered her on from afar, obviously, because Frankie was already here in Arkansas. Morgan went and won. There's a lower division, a national championship that happens. It's called the USA Gymnastics College Gymnastics Championship. And Morgan won the all-around. She won other individual titles in that sphere, and she was just a cut above so many of the other athletes that were competing at that level. And so once she got to this moment where Frankie was taking her 5th year, and her time at Fisk, she felt like she had seen all of the things and done all of the things, and she was proud of her time there. She got to be a part of a sorority that she was very proud to be like welcomed into. There was all of these amazing moments she had. The moment came where she could enter the transfer portal and potentially take her last year at the University of Arkansas, and now they're here together. And so we're excited because we kind of had our cake and ate it too, in a way of like, we lost Morgan for a moment, but she got to go and achieve her goals and dreams and get to experience something that was making history. And now we get to also have her as a Razorback. and we couldn't be more excited. So this is going to be a really amazing moment, and the gymnastics between the two Price sisters is really inspiring to see. They also have this amazing program they're doing now called Bound by Balance, where they're doing camps with their little sister, who is actually on the Spirit squad at the University of Tennessee. And the three of them are bringing in youth gymnasts and youth cheerleaders and doing clinics and camps with them, which has been so cool to watch the impact they have on the young community as well. So it's just an honor to get to be shoulder to shoulder and call them, teammates of sort with the Price sisters. And to be honest with you, I'm not sure if I even answered your question, but I needed everyone to know that the Price sisters are incredible and that Frankie might be in the floor lineup on Sunday. So that's going to be fun.
100%. And it's like my wife says here, and I'm sure this is a ton of Razorback fans, I live for a Frankie floor. Exactly.
Same.
She brings the energy, everybody knows it's going to be an amazing routine when Frankie steps up. So, hopefully that does happen, and, it'll be fun to watch.
Yeah, I always like to say when it comes to these moments of athletes coming back from injury, right? We were talking about this with Jocelyn earlier, and I'll say this with Frankie, like they pace these athletes the way they need to be paced. At the end of the day, what I've heard is that Frankie is like, I want to go. I want to go. I want to get in there. I want to get in there. And that grit and that really voracious kind of feeling that you can feel from an athlete is the competitive nature that you want from these athletes competing for you. So I believe that if I'm hearing all of the things correctly, it's sounding like we're going to see a Frankie Price floor routine. So your wife might be a happy camper in that way, and probably many other Razorback fans.
Right. It's that always balance for coaches across all sports, that fine balance of, letting an athlete get back to it, but also kind of having to protect an athlete from themselves of, hey, they're like, I'm ready to go. Let's go. And they're like, let's give it a little bit more time. And so, I'm sure Coach Weber's had a fun time kind of having to settle Frankie down from saying, all right, I'm ready to go. Let's go. Let's go.
Yeah. I mean, we saw on social media, I feel like it was maybe right before the holidays, Frankie had posted the very first time that she did her first pass, which is called a double layout, on like into the pit. And so it was not too long ago that she kind of got that feeling back, the air awareness back, and it's there, the skill is there. And I think for fans to know, it does take a little bit more to go from doing something into the open foam pit or on a softer landing than to hit the hard floor. But from what I understand, the steps have been taken, and it's just going to be a game time decision to see how things warm up. All the athletes warm up to make the right lineup decision. Because like I said earlier, every team score counts this season. So we got to make sure that we put the right lineup up to set us up for success in the end.
Right. And before we end up letting you get out of here, I have to ask, is there any chance we see Hype Man Corey at an Arkansas basketball game this season?
You know what? Here's what I'll tell you. I'm game. I would love to. I have not been asked, but I would love to be there. And I'll be here 5 meets in the season for gymnastics season. So honestly, I would also love to be a part of the women's basketball momentum that's happening right now. I would love to get in there with, new head coach at the helm and bring some energy in there. I would love to be at a softball game. I'd love to be at a baseball game. Send me everywhere. I want to be at all of it. It's been just such a warm welcome and such a unique atmosphere. I mean, I think the last time I was here, which was over the summer when I coached summer camp, I got recognized by 3 people at XNA Airport, and it was like, hey, are you the gymnastics screaming man? And I was like, that's me, that's me. So however you know me, I love it. And as long as it's all guiding towards the positive energy and the amazing atmosphere that we're creating here in Arkansas, I'm all about it. So I'm pumped.
Awesome. So, well, we appreciate you taking the time to join us. Before you get out of here, any last minute things, maybe something we didn't cover regarding Arkansas gymnastics in this upcoming season that you want to say to the fans?
You know what? All I'm going to say is that this year I have worked with the incredible marketing staff, the incredible event management staff to actually take the Arkansas gymnastics meet experiences to another level. We were the first in the country to have this hype man role, but we're creating a whole show for you all that includes a pre-show. It includes post-meet entertainment. I have some new bits planned for in the middle of the meet that you're going to want to be seated for. So my big note and what I'm trying to get as many fans as possible to know are two things about this season. One, if it says to be there at 4:45 on the schedule, which is this Sunday, it says that the meet time starts at 4:45. Get there at least 30 minutes before that, because we're starting show. The lights are going down. We have a full light show. I have a performance I'm doing. We have a hype squad warm up that's happening. We have a special video package that myself and head coach Jordan Weber are putting together before every single meet. We have so much that's happening. And so this weekend in particular, showtime is at 4:30 and the first vault is at 5 o'clock. So it says 4:45 on the website, but show up early, get there early. The doors open at 3:45. Come and watch warm up, get more gymnastics in your life, start to learn a little bit more about gymnastics, and I'll be there to help guide your eyes. But the second thing that I need to leave you all with is that we're needing to break this attendance record. I will be so annoying this season about how we're going to break this attendance record. It's currently held by the University of Utah at just over 16,000 fans. But here's what we have. Razorback fans, we as Razorbacks compete in the largest arena in the country. We have the most amount of seats in the arena where our gymnastics team competes. We have the best opportunity to be able to break this record, set this record, and not let anyone even close to it because they don't even have enough seats in the arena. So let's break the record, make the history books, and let's show them what Razorback gymnastics is all about. And this amazing Razorback environment in Northwest Arkansas is for sports, for athletics, and just, humanity. Goodness gracious. I love sports. What can I say?
I love it. I can't wait. My season gymnastic tickets are locked and loaded, ready to go for Sunday. And so I'm ready for it. So
let's go. Well, thanks for having me on, guys. I always love being with you guys, and can't wait to see you at the gymnastics meet on Sunday.
Well, we appreciate it. Thank you again. And we'll see you next time.
Sounds good. Bye, guys.
See you.
Awesome. So that was Hype Man Corey that joined us before the first home meet of the season for Arkansas gymnastics. And so I'm excited. I can't wait to get out there on Sunday. This team, like he said, is fired up and ready to go for this season, and it is going to be fun and electrifying. So everybody get out there. Let's like Corey said, let's break that attendance record and show them what Razorback Nation is all about. And so as we were talking about the same sport or same arena, different sports transitioning from gymnastics to basketball, Arkansas bounces back with a huge win last night over South Carolina. As we mentioned earlier in the show, terrible loss on Saturday. Like Coach said, burn the tape. That's not my team. And, I think these guys definitely had a bad taste in their mouth. And, Zane and I, from an in-person perspective, saw the show that this team put on last night. And, your initial thoughts about this, Zane, they came out and just had one heck of a performance, winning by 34 points.
Yeah, it was great. And, kind of like how Cal started the post game, hey, it was good to have my team back. They were fantastic to watch. It was, you could easily, I even said it Sunday, like in the long run, it might be best for the team that we actually lost the way we did, just because, the way we were playing, hey, were some guys getting a little full of themselves. Hey, like no one can stop us right now. It's a good little bring them back down to earth moment, and a good little chance for coach to pretty much be like, hey, told you this can happen. So you can't take any game lightly. It was also great to see our posts perform the way they did, get that good confidence from both of them. Ewan and Pringle both looked fantastic. Honestly, I don't think a single guy looked bad. And, outside of Michi Johnson, I don't know if South Carolina has much, but at least that game they didn't. And it was, it was definitely a fun game to watch and a good bounce back, like you said.
Hobbs, your thoughts?
Yeah, South Carolina is really bad, man. I love beating up on somebody. It was fun. I don't think I can't remember the last time we've beaten an SEC team like that, honestly. So it was really, really fun to see. And, I feel like we have a very good team and can beat anybody in the country on any given day. So it's good to see us beat a team like South Carolina like we did. Man, I watched South Carolina and Georgia on Saturday, and I think the last 5 minutes of the game, South Carolina couldn't even make a shot. So I already knew going into this game, I'm like, they're not good. So yeah, it was good to see. But man, I'm just ready for Saturday because it's going to be an interesting game.
It's going to be a track meet. It's going to be. I got a feeling it's going to be a high scoring game.
Yep.
Yeah. And I think this game, what I liked seeing, I know it was a bad South Carolina team, but when you look through the stats, I think this is probably one of the most evenly spread out games that Arkansas has had where, you usually have your first, second, third leading scorer that's up there, and then you drop off guys at 6 points, 7 points. But you had 6 different guys in double figures last night. And, some of them kind of creeped up on you. Like, I looked up and, DJ Wagner has 12 points. And, he is quiet a majority of the game. Then right there at the end kind of adds some there. But
it was one of those, like, he was just showing, hey, I can get by whoever you have in front of me. I don't know how many of those 12 points were layups there near the end. I mean, I think 2 or 3 in a row. It was just like, another layup, not to mention probably the dunk of the game over a 7-foot guy for him. But that was definitely a big momentum play there.
I was about to say we have to talk about DJ's poster last night, and gets the and one. So
yeah, that was a very impressive play. And I was telling you before, I was like, I'd like to see DJ score more. It's just kind of like his role on this team is almost more like mentor come in, but he's been great in accepting that role. And sure enough, he started to score some. So
right, DJ is going to get his. But, I think one of the other impressive things is, we talked about it right before conference play, and I think maybe we're starting to see it now, is a more consistent Malik Thomas. He comes out, leads all scorers last night. He scores 21 points, 8 of 9 from the field. But the amazing stat, 5 from 5 from the three-point line, no free throw attempts. He has 4 rebounds, 2 assists, 1 block, and 4 steals in 25 minutes.
Yeah,
that was great.
Yeah, he's the guy, man. I've been saying it all along. He's the guy. If he's on fire like that, there's no stopping us. So, because Auburn was playing the type of defense where they weren't afraid of anything. So, I mean, they weren't afraid of somebody hitting a shot or nothing like that. So when you have a guy like Malik Thomas that's hitting those shots from beyond the arc like that, it opens up the floor for other things.
Yeah.
And I think a big understated part of this was, normally when the season starts, you have your freshmen. Normally there's a adjustment period. But the fact that our 2 freshmen combined for 39 points, and also they combined for 15 assists, 8 rebounds, but 0 turnovers between the 2 of them is fantastic to see. I mean, the team was, 27 assists, 4 turnovers. So when you have that assist to turnover ratio in a conference game, that's pretty outstanding. But the fact that your 2 freshmen both had 0 turnovers shows some maturity there. And, not lowering your head, getting ahead of yourself, running, kind of out of control, like we kind of saw once or twice earlier in the season. So I think that's some big maturity right there as well.
When's the last time we had a point guard get 13 assists?
I don't know. I do not have that stat off the top of my head. But, hey, you know what? Sunday I can try to have that answer for you.
I don't know if it's a school record or not. I mean, it's a lot of assists for a game.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, and that's the big thing is it's like, now we can start to count on, like, if you have games like at Auburn where, Darius Acuff, it just wasn't his day. Now you have a guy like Malik Thomas that seems like he's starting to click on all cylinders now, where it's like, Darius isn't having to necessarily carry the entire load or the entire team himself. It's like now you've got this, as many announcers and people have said, now you have the, best freshman backcourt or best backcourt in the country ready to go and both playing at, how we knew they would be able to play. I think that just adds another wrinkle, another layer to this team that other teams are going to struggle to guard and game plan against.
Yeah. So to answer your question real fast, Hobbs, most assists in a single game. We've done it twice with 15. We've had two players have 15 assists. Kareem Reed had 14 assists 3 separate times. And then Darius Acuff and Lee Mayberry had 13 assists in game. So only 7 times.
Had 15?
What?
Who had 15 in a game?
Dontel Jefferson once against Portland State, and then also Kareem Reed. So Kareem Reed holds 4 of the 5 highest.
Those names don't sound familiar to me, so that must have been.
It was Dontel Jefferson was in 05. Kareem Reed was all 96 to 98.
Okay.
So, AK, it's been a hot minute since Arkansas has had a point guard
20 years.
share the ball like that.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, even Anthony Black didn't have a game like that.
Right. And and we knew how good he is and how good he's, killing it in the NBA right now. But, I want to go back to something you mentioned, Zane, when we started talking about basketball. How about the performances by these bigs last night? Trevor in Brazil, 13 points. Nick Pringle, 15 points. And then Malik Ewan, 18 points. All your bigs in double figures is amazing.
Yeah, no, I mean, that's fantastic. And, that was one where entering conference play, it was kind of the big question mark was how are our posts going to hold up? And then Tennessee, they showed out. But then Auburn got killed points in the paint. But it was a good little bounce back. Now, Graham, Pringle might have had a little extra chip on shoulder playing against his old team. But, hey, I will gladly take it. Let's let him play against South Carolina every game. I mean, based on yesterday, I kind of want to play South Carolina every game rest of the season. So
just give him some South Carolina colored glasses.
Exactly. Just hang a South Carolina jersey up in his locker before every game. So, but I mean, it was hopefully, him and you and Brazil can just kind of play like this from here on out. Also, Knox playing against his brother, played a lot more minutes than I thought he would, coming off that hip pointers. So interested to see how he's
17.
feeling today. Yeah, I was expecting 5 to 10, but interested to see how he's feeling today, though, and kind of his stats for Saturday, just because, you come out, the adrenaline's going, you're not feeling too much, but then next morning it could be a little bit more sore than you initially think. So interested to see how that kind of progresses and how he feels from that. But it was also good to see, Billy's kind of been a off the bench energy guy, and see him inserted into the starting lineup and still provide that same energy from the get-go. Definitely good to see that.
100%. And I think that's the thing. It's like, you have Malik Ewan, who's kind of, as we talked about Malik Thomas, it's kind of like he's found his stride a little bit. You look at his stat line, and it's becoming more consistent. 18 points, 8 of 10 from the field, 2 of 2 from the line. He has 4 rebounds, 1 assist, 1 block, 1 steal in just 15 minutes. So very efficient there. And it's like, when it pertains to Nick Pringle, it's like Cal said before. You can't hide it now. You can perform to this level. 15 points, 5 of 9 from the field, 5 of 6 from the line, 7 rebounds, 3 assists in 23 minutes. So we know you can play like this. We knew you could play like this based off how you played for South Carolina last year. So now it's time to put this out there on a consistent basis as well.
Yeah. And I will say, like, when Ewan kind of had that breakout game where Cal was like, hey, we know you can do this now. Ewan's been a little bit better since that game. So hopefully this is where Pringle gets better as well. And it's not just a one-time thing. So still interested to see kind of how it plays out. But if we can get this version of Pringle or even 80% of this version of Pringle from here on out, it's going to be very tough to stop because to this point, the post offense has been kind of the iffy part. But if we can get some consistency down there to pair with the guards that we have in the wings, it's going to be a nightmare to guard.
100%. And then, you have Brazil out there just doing Brazil type things, 13 points, 5 of 8 from the field, 1 of 3 from deep, 2 of 3 from the line, grabs you 5 boards, 2 assists, 2 steals in 31 minutes. So, I mean, an average night for Brazil.
And a casual windmill dunk.
Oh, yeah. Then you have the, right there towards the end, the big dunk by Pringle as well to kind of cap off the night. So, just overall a good bounce back win that this team needed as they get ready to go on a tough road environment against Georgia. Don't want to be 0-2 in road games or 1-2 in road games. So bounce back win, and then you got a tough Vanderbilt team to come back home to next week. So good things. You're loving how this team is playing, and it's like we said, maybe it was good to have that loss early. Yeah, it stings. It sucks that we got beat like we did. But, maybe a few things opened this team's eyes, maybe humbled them a little bit, but also said, hey, you can be beat just because of how you've been playing lately. There's still teams that, can want it more than you. Like Auburn came out and like they kept using the phrase, they threw the first punch and didn't let up. So, now going forward, you be the team that comes out and throws the first punch and then just doesn't let off the gas.
Yeah. And looking ahead to Georgia, they have 11 guys averaging 10 or more minutes a game, so another deep rotation. It'll be interesting to see. They do like to get up and run. 3 guards averaging double figures. And then another freshman that I think we had tried to get, Somto Cyril. Ended up not getting him, but he's been pretty solid for him as well. They got, it's a deep team. They like to run, but at least from what I've seen, if you can kind of contain them into the half court and cut off some of the fast break points, I think you got a decent shot to beat them. So that's just, easier said than done because I know they really like to get up and down the court. I know, I think it was like last I checked, they were like 29 fast break points per game or something, or 25, but they were first in the country. And at that time, we were like 3rd or 4th. So I definitely think it's going to be more of a track meet. So whatever the line is, I would probably take the over if you were a betting man. So,
yeah. And it's like we've said every week, and we'll probably continue to say, you look at the, if you just look at their stats, their top leading scorers, all guards, give me our guards any day, between DJ, Darius, and Malik, even Billy, all these guys can be lockdown defenders. Jeremiah Wilkinson, as we've seen last year, Blue Cane, a familiar name from last year. And then, of course, like you mentioned, Somto Cyril that, Arkansas tried to go after as well. So it's going to be a fun game to watch. Those guys we talked about, Jeremiah Wilkinson leads them in points and steals. Cyril leads them in rebounds and blocks. So, it's going to be interesting to see, like you said, with both teams playing very similar type of ball, the up and down pace, a lot of points scored. Give me the over.
They don't have a senior guard who's been in the league 4 years, knows how. I mean, their main guy, Wilkerson's a sophomore. The other 2 guards are both juniors. Obviously, they're still experienced, but you don't have a super duper experienced dude that can just kill you game in, game out that you're expecting to go against. You don't have that. Like, you just don't have some of those guys. You don't have like a Zakai Ziegler from last year who's been in the league way too long and just knows everything about the league and all that. So that's kind of the positive side of it. I think with him being a sophomore, I think we might be able to get to him as well.
Yeah. So, big time matchup on Saturday. It's going to be a fun one to watch. Game will tip off 3:00 on ESPN2. So get ready to tune in. It should be a fun one. Have your popcorn ready for all the fast breaks, ups and downs, and look for the Razorbacks to come out on top. But as we kind of round out talking about the Hogs on the hardwood, let's jump over to the gridiron and talk some Arkansas football as tomorrow the transfer portal gets ready to close as far as terms of guys getting ready to enter the portal and things like that. And we get ready to wrap up this transfer portal window. Some of the bigger names that we've talked about, and, one of the bigger storylines that, to say that we got during the week or over the weekend too is linebacker Bradley Shaw is coming back. That's a big one that, I think a lot of people have been, waiting on to see what's he going to do. We got the notification that Courtney Crutchfield's coming back. So, these positions are starting to round out. You'd love to see Arkansas grab maybe one or two more offensive linemen just to have that depth and round out that position group. They've got a few guys on campus that are visiting, and hopefully, one of them being at the top of the position, the starting guard from Maryland is visiting. So he's a guy to watch out for. And then, of course, you'd love a couple more bodies on the defensive line just to, bring in some more experience, but also to have that depth so you can, run, 8, 9 guys deep. That way, as we saw last year, that was a problem for Arkansas. Guys were getting gassed. Look at Cam Ball, how many snaps he had to play last year just because we didn't have the depth behind him. Guys won't be as gassed this year. You've got a great combination so far of returners with some experience on top of some talented freshmen coming in. And then, of course, your experienced transfers coming in between Carlin Jones, Hunter Osborne, Jamonte Waller, and then you can't forget about Sandal Bascom coming in from JUCO. So last few days of transfer portal, don't know how many big, as far as quote unquote splash commits you'll get, but you're looking to get some of those depth pieces. Maybe that as far as a splash would be the offensive lineman that ranks towards the top that came from a starting spot at Maryland. But it seems like Arkansas addressed a lot of its needs. Revamped the defense in the secondary, especially that secondary. You got a lot of really key guys, experienced guys that you look at the guys coming in. Christian Harrison, a guy transferring in from Cincinnati that allowed only one touchdown and over 600 snaps. You've got Joker Johnson from Tulane, 4 interceptions last season. Lakai Rowland and Braden Lee coming in from Maryland, 2 of the top guys at their position. Shelton Lewis coming in from Clemson. You got a lot of guys with Power 4 experience. Ian Williams coming over from Memphis, following his coach over. Revamped secondary, and then on top of that, you've got a couple guys coming back, some younger guys, Nigel Pringle, Taj Overton, so a handful of guys coming back. And then, revamped linebacker room, as we mentioned, Bradley Shaw back, one of the big ones. Wyatt Simmons, a guy that, I would expect to step up this year, but then you grabbed Kamori House, one of the top linebackers in the transfer portal out of the North Carolina, a couple guys from Baylor, Phoenix Jackson, Jeremy Evans, guys with experience. So it's good to see what they've done. Arkansas needs another 4-star defensive end transfer, another decent safety. I agree. Like I was mentioning, we're trying to round out those, depth spots. Another big time defensive end would be good to have. I feel like overall, though, if you have to rank this portal class, and I mean, I don't know what it is today at this most recently, but last I saw On3 had us a top 10 class. I'm not sure about 24/7 Sports.
Yeah, let me check real fast. So On3 in the transfer ranking class has us currently at 11th. And 24/7 has us at, hang on. Where am I now? It's showing me the top players. Give me just a sec.
Looks like I have us sitting at 24th. So a little bit of discrepancy there between 24/7 on three. But I mean, I think overall, if you just look at the breakdown of, the class, you've got to give Silverfield a lot of credit for what he's done. We knew that was kind of his style to come in, bring in a lot of guys in the transfer portal, around 70 guys last year at Memphis. Not as many, but you see him basically do an overhaul on the defensive side of the ball. You have less work to do on the offense. The big thing on offense was you needed to, build your quarterback room. You had a lot of pieces coming back as far as the your running backs, your wide receivers, getting Jaden Platt back at tight end, and then bringing in a couple of linemen for your offensive line. But, the real work was to be done on the defensive side of the ball, and I feel like he's done that. Like the comment earlier, we're a few pieces away from, feeling really good about what's needed left on that defense. But,
yeah,
you got your 4 quarterbacks. I'm ready to watch the battle between KJ Jackson and AJ Hill. That's going to be fun to watch next year, to who wins out that starting spot. But then you've also can't forget about Hank Hendricks, Fayetteville quarterback that, the whole news broke over the weekend that he was going to reclassify to 26. He was a 4-star kid in 2027, reclassifying, going to enroll in May, will join this quarterback room. I think he's got some talented guys in there, and, bringing in Braden Fuller, an experienced guy at the D2 level, it's a great combination of talent, experience, and in this quarterback room. And, I think Arkansas is going to be pretty set.
Yeah. Pretty happy with a lot of the position rooms. So definitely interested to see kind of, what kind of last depth pieces we add and all that jazz. So going to be fun.
Hey, and don't take it from us. You heard Sutton Smith on our last episode talking about how excited he is, not only about the running back room, but about the quarterbacks and everybody. So it's not just us that are hyped about what's going on with this Razorback transfer portal class and what the future and this upcoming season could look like. Yes, we know it's not going to be a miracle one season turnaround. Would love if it would be, but I think from what we've seen from the time that Silverfield was announced, he wins the press conference, he comes out, flips 4 of the top kids in the state of Arkansas right 3 days before signing day.
Yeah.
Then does this for the transfer portal class. I mean,
it's definitely trending in the right direction for sure.
Right. The trajectory, I like where it's headed. And so, once the portal closes and we kind of finish up getting those last additions in, they can get ready for spring practice, go through that. I'll be ready to watch and see what the storylines are for that. And then, you'll have the summer where, there's a little bit of dead period where the players can do their own thing, but not a lot of coach action going on. And then before you know it, we'll be talking fall camp and getting ready to start the season. So, but before we get out of here, we're going to talk quickly about Arkansas baseball. We hit a little bit on it earlier before Corey jumped on, but let's go through a couple of newsworthy topics that came out from Dave's press conference that he had last week. The biggest news, I ruined Hobbs' day whenever I let him know this news, but it was announced Brenton Clark, outfielder for Arkansas, redshirt freshman, is going to miss the entire season due to a shoulder injury. Dave said it kind of was bothering him a little bit in fall camp, and then kind of over time, it continued to get worse, and they decided to go ahead and have surgery on it. So, Arkansas's best hitter through fall camp, had an amazing summer out in California. You're going to have to wait another season to see him on the field.
Yeah, it's unfortunate because he was, like you mentioned, fall. He was just on base left and right, just getting gap hits, and and so the kid was really, really making a name for himself and really going to be competing for a starting position in the outfield to the point where Nolan Souza may not even be in this lineup. That was probably going to be the case. Souza was probably going to be a platoon player to start the season. So But with him being hurt, that just means there's some more guys that need to step up, and it's unfortunate, but hopefully he gets back healthy and he's back and be a freshman again next year. So with the medical red shirt, so hopefully we can see him next year because he's got a bright future ahead of him.
Right. And then the other big news, we briefly talked about it before we jumped on for the show, is could this be the year we finally see Dave Van Horn start at freshman at shortstop?
I mean, it could be. Yeah, you really don't know. I mean, when you got a top 25 freshman in the country coming in, you got to be somewhere. It reminds me of, Peyton Stovall coming in, and I know he's at second base, but we've got a pretty good second baseman over there. So it's really, really, it's going to be interesting. So it really won't tell. The good thing is that this year they're able to practice a little bit longer. They previously had 4 weeks. Now they get 6 weeks of practice time before the season starts. So they'll get to a little bit more scrimmage time. But Dave Van Horn, he's not going to put somebody there that he's not comfortable with.
He's got to earn it.
Yeah. So, but it's not going to be easy replacing the Golden Spice winner. So,
100%. Big shoes to fill. But
yeah.
If you're not aware who we're talking about, that is Carson Brumbaugh, 6'3", 215 from Edmond, Oklahoma. His dad, Cliff, played in the major league for the Rangers, the Rockies. His brother currently plays at Oklahoma. So, interconference. He began his career at Oklahoma State in 22, played for Nebraska in 23 to 25. So, his brother's in the SEC. But we don't play Oklahoma this year. So, we won't get to see, him go up against his brother. But, the one thing to think about is even if he's not on the field at shortstop, there's a chance you can see this guy on the mound as well.
They asked Dave about that, and he didn't really say that was going to be the case because Dave Van Horn, he's not really been keen on two-way players. I mean, we've had guys like Evan Lee and stuff like that before, but as you look at even Kihio Aloy, he pitched to BYU. You haven't seen him pitch here, so he's not really he's big on a guy focusing on one thing, and I don't think he wants to put that kind of pressure on a guy that's playing on the left side of the infield as a freshman in this league. So I don't really know if we'll see him pitch, but you never know. We may run into a situation where we may need somebody to step up and pitch. So this is a rotation that has a lot of potential, but a lot of question marks too.
Yeah. And as you look around the diamond, Arkansas's got a great combination of youth and experience. Of course, you got to start with Ryder Helfrich behind the plate, being disrespected by a perfect game as always, not being put on one of the top catchers in the country. We know that's not true. He kind of, is the key starting piece there. And then as you go around the diamond, Reese Robinette, going to be your first baseman, really broke out towards halfway through the season last year due to some injury issues. And he really took hold of that. You go over to shortstop, Cam Kozel coming back again. As we mentioned, shortstop, a little up in the air. Could be Brumbaugh, could be TJ Pompey that transferred in from Texas Tech as well. He's a 6'4" junior, 215 with some great experience at Texas Tech. You go over to third. Third's another tricky, if Pompey's not at short, he's probably going to be at third. If he's not at third, who else do you see at third potentially later in the season? Maybe Souza after he kind of gets acclimated back from injury a little bit. You'll see him maybe DHing a little bit to begin the season as he gets back to form. But who else could we potentially see at third if it's not Pompey?
Well, you got a guy like Landon Schaefer. He's a freshman. Another guy, the only thing about freshmen is it's hard to really tell what Dave's going to do with them. Is he going to redshirt them? How much playing time are they going to really get? But you still got all these midweek games too, where he likes to play a lot of young guys in too. So we could see the freshmen play a lot. So it's going to be interesting to see who's really out there and who's not. So, it's hard. I know last year we had guys that could play infield that didn't play a whole lot. Also, another guy to mention is Tyler Holland. This is a guy that last fall ball and the last scrimmages before the season even started was just raking. I mean, he was getting base hits left and right. So that's another guy to look out for that could get some playing time.
Yeah. And then, quickly too, before we wrap up and get out of here, we'll talk more baseball in the coming weeks as we get ready to get into the season. But another season, this will be back-to-back season where essentially you lost your entire starting rotation. I mean, you kind of put an asterisk there because Gabe Geckel started the season opened the season as a starter, but towards the late of the season, you saw him transition to more of a bullpen guy, closer type of role. But coming into this season, that's one of the other question marks is and Dave's already told us, Geckel's getting another shot to be, starter. As you said before we jumped on here, he's going to be your opening day guy, one of your most experienced guys on the roster. The real key is going to be, can he get past, what we saw last year where he struggled in the first innings, but then came locked down after that? Can he kind of put it all together and be, that opening day, day one type of starter guy that we know he has the potential to be?
Yeah, I have no doubt about it. I've always had full confidence in Geckel. I mean, he's a stud, and maybe he takes an even more jump. That Hagen Smith type of jump where, freshman, sophomore years he was good, and then his junior year he was the best there was in the country. So I don't know if Gabe's going to take that kind of jump, but I have full confidence that he's the guy, and we need him to be because I'm not sure how deep this rotation is. So we're kind of dependent on Gabe to be good, and then you have a guy like Cole Gibbler that could be another starter too. He's going to be in his sophomore season, which he was great out of the bullpen last year. And then you got another guy in a righty, Hunter Dietz, that's coming off of injuries that they've really liked and has looked good. So, but you got to take it to the field, and I look. He's like Dave was saying, if he was healthy, he could have been one of the best pitchers to ever pitch at Arkansas. So we'll see how healthy and how good he can be this year. And then you got a guy like Tate McGuire who pitched a little bit last year, but kind of lost a spot in the rotation because he struggled a little bit. But how good can he be this year? So good thing is we got one of the best, if not the best, pitching coach in the country. So he's going to have these guys right. And another good thing was we got Parker Coyle back. And he's going to be a long relief type of pitcher. And then also, of course, you can't forget about the guy that jumped in the pond and Still Eves. He's back and will probably be our closer.
Yeah. And then you got other guys you can't forget too, Carson Wiggins, another big arm, his brother. We saw it from him a little bit last year. Colin Fisher, Parker Coyle, a guy that, Parker Coyle, a guy that was big for you early in the year, had some injury struggles down the stretch towards the end of the season. He's a guy that is he's a senior. He's experienced on this staff. And then not to mention one of the transfers you brought in, Ethan McAvane from Vanderbilt, 6'4", 250 lefty, stepping on the mound. And then, other guys you mentioned, Still Eves, Dave raved about him and his development in the offseason. And so, yeah, it's going to be fun to see how this staff comes together and who are going to be kind of your, after those first few weeks of the season, who are going to be the kind of your Friday, Saturday, Sunday guys. Like, who are going to be those guys that kind of steps up and, are going to be your go-to guys week in and week out.
Yeah, and another guy, Cooper Dossett, he was out last year. He's going to be back this year as another hard thrower. So I'm looking forward to seeing him back in the mound.
And you also got Arkansas native that transferred in, Jackson Kircher from Oklahoma, 6'4", 215 righty.
Yeah. Yeah.
So,
So,
you know,
a lot of
as
guys
always,
that can be really good, and you know, I'm hoping that they're going to be really good as a Razorback.
right. As always, Arkansas is never going to have a shortage of pitchers and pitching
No.
staff. You know, best one in the country. So, but yeah, so you know, we're going to dive a little bit more in depth to the roster and what we kind of expectations of this team in the next coming weeks. But kind of a little preview into that, as Hobbs said earlier, I'm going to be taking a trip down to Arlington to see opening weekend, so that'll be fun. But as we get ready to wrap up here, don't forget Saturday, Arkansas, Georgia, 3:00 on ESPN2. Transfer portal closes tomorrow for football. First gym meet on Sunday. You heard Corey. Start time says 4:45, but Corey says be there at 4:30, and we're going to listen to Corey here on Hogs on the Hill. So be there at 4:30, and you know, get ready to let's break that record this year, like you mentioned. But you guys got anything else before we wrap up and get out of here?
Nope, I'm good.
Well, as always, don't forget to like and subscribe to the show on YouTube, Apple Podcasts, Spotify. Hit that like and subscribe button. That way you don't miss any time we go live or any type of shows that we put out there. So, you know, everybody have a great Friday. Enjoy the weekend. We'll see you on Sunday. And so from Hobbs, Zane, myself, we're going to get out here, and we'll see you on Sunday for Razor Recap.